I'm just reading these comments because you wanted to start a forest fire.
I'm not trying to start a forest fire, okay?
I understand what you wasn't trying to do, but you did.
I just wanted to open up some dialogue, you know?
You opened up some horrible dialogue.
Do you really think it was bad what I said?
I'm not saying what you said was bad. I'm saying you opened up horrible dialogue. You gave yourself like a literal toxic platform almost because of this. Because like I'm reading these comments and I'm like, yo, nobody is up in arms about what you say. And this is why I be saying, like, you be saying stuff that is out of pocket at first, and people, and you don't explain yourself in time, and people like get opinions about you. Like, that's a real thing, and I've been telling you this for years. I'm not gonna lie.
Firstly, I intentionally didn't say anything because I don't like people being swayed by the things I say. A lot of times where I explain myself, people sway very quickly. And I don't want that. I actually wanted to see what people are saying about the topic. Hey guys, welcome back to our channel. My name is Cashier.
And I'm Christian.
With his lovely bonnet on.
Yeah, it's my bonnet on for right now. I gotta protect my hair.
And I got the nice hoodie. You see, we should just switch personalities.
So basically, Cashier made a post on Facebook saying, when are we going to acknowledge toxic women create and raise the toxic men we hate? And the comment section did not like that at all.
Yeah.
We got comments like, the misogyny is coming from inside the house. This is a mess. To be honest, I knew this was gonna happen too. Topics like this open the door for misogynistic men to go on rants in the comment section, and it just goes on and on and on. So would you care to explain yourself on this post?
So you have a lash right here. Long ass lash won't come out. So I actually just wanted to open up a dialogue because me and Christian, our relationship is very stable and we've been together for almost 5 years. We had a lot of ups and downs. We had the struggle love, we had the forgiveness, we had a lot of stuff going on in our relationship. You know, you guys know that we were living in our car and we still held it down. And I just really want to have more conversations with things that people don't like to talk about when it comes to relationships, when it comes to men and women, and really bring our platform into a new way of conversation, honestly. So one of the first conversations that popped up in my head was the fact that toxic women raise and create toxic men. And the reason why I made it such a straightforward post, it was because I was talking about acknowledging it. So a lot of people, like, it kind of proved my point of why I never commented on anything they said. Not one one comment did I respond back to, because I just wanted to see what they're gonna say. And a lot of them didn't even acknowledge what I was talking about. And they kind of proved the post correctly, because if you won't acknowledge that there are toxic women, you're never going to fix the problem. I'm all about supporting women. But when you're giving excuses or you won't tackle the conflict at hand, we're never gonna get better. Like, we're never gonna get better. You know, my mom is a toxic woman, okay? A very toxic woman. Was raised by her. I came out okay for the most part, you know? A lot of trauma I had, a lot of things I had to go through to find my self-worth, to understand and give love and receive love, because I had a hard time receiving love. And just going through the motions of becoming an adult and learning right from wrongs and learning from my past. Let me give you an example. So in my family, my grandfather has 14 children. Out of those 14 children, there's a lot of different baby moms. And I have a lot of uncles. And some of them are not the best, some of them are. But a lot of them just deal with a lot of trauma that they don't like to talk about. And it affects their sons and how they treat women, you know? And if we don't talk about those women, or because some of you might be those women that don't want to have that conversation. And when I say toxic women, I mean it. I mean toxic women. I mean women that don't take care of the kids. I mean women that make sure that the kids never see the father because they don't want, because the father doesn't want to be with them. So now they can't see their kids, because if you don't want to be with me, you can't see your kids. I'm talking about those mothers who hate their sons because their sons look like their father. You know, like straight spitted image, and they hate their father because, you know, they look like them. I'm talking about those mothers who put their new man over their kids and treat their kids like, because their new man didn't even want kids in the first place. They don't even want to take care of another man's kids. I'm talking about women who literally will have emotional incest with their sons and won't let them grow up and won't let them have healthy relationships with women without them getting involved and without them being controlling. And a lot of people don't want to have that conversation. I'm just saying, let's acknowledge it. And that's what a lot of people got upset about when I said acknowledge. And if you read some of these comments, some of them didn't even like stay on topic. So
that's because you didn't explain yourself the way you did.
No, but like, I don't have to explain this. I said, when are we going to acknowledge toxic women create and raise toxic men we hate? I had people literally go on tangents that had nothing to do with what we were talking about here.
Because they thought that you were generalizing. They immediately took the women and just forgot like the toxic part. They didn't.
That's what I'm saying though.
But they didn't know what you were talking about when you said toxic.
But look, you're giving women. I know you don't want to sound like a misogynistic man, but you're giving us way too much credit. These are smart, intelligent women on my page.
I know.
They're very smart.
I know that, and I'm just saying. I know they're smart. It's just I know how the human mind works, especially on social media. People will take one word or take a word out of a sentence and make it worse than what it is, and they'll cling on to that and make their comment like, you know, about the sentence or perspective that they made, you know, by themselves. Like it's not your fault or their fault. It's just when you make a post like that, like I can understand like how triggering that can be to make the kind of comments that you have.
But not all of them. But look, you see how you're talking about like all of them are bad.
No, I'm not saying all of them are bad. No, just the ones that are like counteracting your post, kind of.
But won't you see that on any type of post?
Yeah. I just haven't seen it in a while, and especially on one of your posts because you don't get this kind of reception.
Because I don't talk about those things, and I feel like that, like you said, you know, I don't get those types of posts, right? I mean, I don't make those types of posts. But even the last one, which we'll talk about social media, and people got very heated about that. I am so welcoming when it comes to people's opinion. I like the dialogue. I like to open up the floor. I don't give my platform to people to be misogynistic. I don't give my platform to people to be disrespectful. But like, the people who's on here, like men that's on here commenting, are not being disrespectful. They're just opening up the conversation. It's mostly the women on here that's being very disrespectful. And if that makes me a pick-me, then okay. I don't think having a dialogue that goes against the grain makes you a pick-me. And honestly, when it comes to me, I could speak for myself. I'm a girl that's been in a relationship for 5 years. We got our own crib together. We got 2 cars. We're building. We have a support system from our TikTok family. We have a support system within Christian's mom now. We have a support system within ourselves and with each other. We know how to talk to each other. We know how to communicate. And even if we disagree, we don't let that overcome our whole relationship. We learn to not just quit on each other. And, you know, if you don't like something I said, oh, you're can be, and you dip out. We don't even curse. We don't call each other our names. So when I'm talking about my perspective, I'm talking from a healthy relationship. And a lot of people can't understand that. And that's okay, because that's not your reality. But if we can help people, especially people who are young coming up, and they can see like healthy bantering,
yeah,
then I think that's a great win in our book, you know? A lot of people don't want to have that type of conversation. And I think for the younger generation, we need to have that conversation for them and not sweep it under the rug. I'm not saying, when I wrote this post, I was not negating women. I'm a woman myself. That's weird. I'm not saying that women are horrible. I said toxic women because that is one thing that feminists, people in general, like with the market, the LGBT, we don't like to talk about toxic women at all.
Because people make generalizations and then they want to include all women. Like it doesn't, like, it's like, oh, if I'm toxic, then what about her? Look at what she did, type of thing, like pointing the finger, you know? Go. That's
you want to read some of these comments?
I don't want to read any more of these comments because you kind of read them on our TikTok.
I'll just put some of them that I read on TikTok right here. But did you get picked yet, sis? I mean, 5 years in a relationship. Are you dumb? Like, I'm not trying to be mean, But seriously, are you dumb? Depends on who you're asking. Women are always going to be an easy target, huh? We're always going to get all the blame for all the damage of the whole generational fuckery, totally ignoring the other major factors that share the fault. Sometimes, sure, but definitely not all the time. I will say toxic moms a lot of the times will make excuses for their son, behavior more so than for their daughters, and they will grow up thinking that they can act crazy and it'll be fine. Why are we always going to find ways to blame women for the actions of men? When y'all stop abandoning your kids, laughing my ass off. When fathers leave in droves like they do and have for decades, your results may vary. Toxic parents create and raise toxic men. Absent and abusive fathers create these men. Yes, abusive and absent mothers and other care figures contribute to it, but let's not blame women for the men's folks' shortcomings. At the end of the day, these women might perpetuate the patriarchy, but who established it? It's both parents, but instead of pushing the negative of black people not knowing how to raise our kids like others do, it needs to be led through example, and there should be grace and patience towards those hurt children. Okay. It wasn't specific to black people, but okay. I thought we knew that. As soon as fathers who made the children take accountability for their share of that child's life. Toxic people, not just women, don't blame just one group for the actions of other. Sometimes their moms try to teach them the right thing and they ignore it. Such as the struggle rapper that put a hit on his mom because she didn't want to baby him anymore. I love your work and your style, but this is very pick me-ish. They finna drag you, delete this shit. Last one for now. Stupidest shit I ever heard. There's abusive mothers in the world, yes, but to blame all mothers for their sons' actions and characters is not correct. Or are you stating that men are so fickle that every interaction they have with a woman affects them so drastically that they become rapists, pedos, school shooters, cheaters, narcissists, psychopaths, etc.? All right. So continue, Christian, on what you were saying.
So there are a lot of households that will have parents who are going through like a tough relationship, right? And then they wind up breaking apart. When most of the time, this is coming from my own personal experience, right? Most of the time, I've seen these families, and they don't have to be black. They can be black, white, Hispanic, anything, right? Most of the time, it's the woman that keeps and raises the children. Our video got cut off. I said it was mostly the women who keep and raise the children, and now I want to like really like say this like carefully. So I've seen women purposely either keep the men away from their kids out of spite, or treat the kids bad out of spite because the father didn't want to be with them. And I'd see these women also get into relationships with other men and try to make the man a stepfather, but the man isn't that good and he doesn't want kids, and that's another toxic relationship. And then, you know, like the kids will have to basically like suffer for it. I've also seen, you know, good parents who just happen to have like a child who had all these toxic traits that they just didn't address, you know, there and then, and or they were afraid of the child, and the child would basically go rampant and, you know, do the same toxic traits without anybody, you know, giving them the correct direction. So I would say in that sense, yes, that's what your post, you know, is talking about. And not a lot of people want to talk about it because not a lot of people want to, you know, claim the responsibility or accountability of their actions when it comes to that. Now, if this applies to you, you know what I'm talking about. But if it doesn't apply to you, then
It doesn't apply.
it doesn't apply.
Piggyback off of what you're saying. The reason why that post probably doesn't make a lot of sense to people is because we were raised during this era to be strong women. And a part of that being strong women means you don't need a man. And I don't completely believe that. I surely feel like I couldn't breathe without Christian. And that's, you can say that's codependency, but that's just how I feel towards my partner. I picked this partner. I picked a lot of wrong guys in the past, and me and Christian, we picked each other. We talked to each other. We talked about what we wanted, and we made that very clear from the get-go. I made it clear to him that I wanted children. He made it clear to me that he wanted children. I made it clear that I wanted to get married, and he told me that he never thought about marriage. So we had these conversations and banters, and I feel like even if, like, let's say we don't end up together, right? Because we picked each other and we had those conversations, I don't feel like we will ever be toxic to each other. Like, I would never keep Christian from his kid, you know? Like, I would never have my child calling somebody else daddy when I know he has a father. We might not have worked out. We might not have been a great parent, but we respect each other, you know? We have that underlining understanding, whether we are in this relationship or we're in other relationships in the future, you know? Not saying we are, because I'm keeping you, you're mine. But, and just giving an example. Another thing I want to bring up is that this conversation is very important to have, even if it's uncomfortable to have, because the reality of the situation is men have no right in America to their children.
Basically none.
No right at all. No right at all. They have no rights to their kids. Unless you're married, men legally have no right to their children. Their children automatically gets put in place with the mother unless something is really wrong with the mom. Like, and I mean mental illness, homelessness,
or just
unfit parent. Like,
yeah.
But it has to be proven. Like, literally, a man cannot just say, "Oh, I want my son to live with me," you know, or "I want my daughter to live with me." They can't say that. They cannot. Even if they show up to court every time and prove that that woman is an unfit mom, they cannot get their kids. Because if she can say, even if it's a lie, he's abusive. They don't even have to say how he's abusive. It's just, he's abusive.
And they'll just believe the woman.
And it's just like, oh, well, we can't put your kid in that. And it's because women are supposed to be the ones that nurture, take care of the child, the motherly figure. So it's automatically supposed to be like a no-brainer. But if you don't talk about negative moms like that, we didn't watch it, but I actually want to react to it later on this week. Mm-hmm. There was a video going around, and it's about this mom that cut off her daughter's braids, like just chopped it off.
Oh, and then, and she put it on social media.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And then she gave her daughter a wig as a gift. And then I didn't see the video, but all I know is that it was a lot of news outlets talking about it and a lot of comments. And I found out that that lady lost her child to CPS, and a lot of people said the internet made her lose her child. And I think that right there is a big indication of what's happening when we're not having a conversation about toxic women. And look how she's raising her daughter. You humiliated your child.
Humiliated.
I can't say it.
It's okay. Humiliated.
Her child on a national platform. You know, her female child who, you know, from that can have really bad, damaging self-worth issues after that. A lot of people, y'all just don't want to talk about it. Y'all think when we talk about toxic women or women being problematic, that it's being against women. And it's not. It's being an adult and having those conversations. It does not mean that it's one-sided. All right? I'm not saying all women are bad. Nobody is saying all women are bad. But the ones that are bad, y'all won't. It's kind of like,
don't get talked about enough.
It's kind of like, not to break the subject, that video that I showed you on TikTok, where there was this Hispanic girl that talked about, tell me you're from a toxic Hispanic family without telling me you're from a toxic Hispanic family.
And then the father wound up being a Geppetto.
Yes.
And none of the women addressed him. None of the women contested him. None of them
would say anything. And when these little girls came up to them and told them that her father was a Geppetto, they said, "You're lying. Don't say that. That's mean. You know, don't say those things." And those women should be held accountable for not keeping those children safe. But like I said, people don't like to have those conversations. That man was supposed to be put in jail. He was doing it for about 25 years. Mm. Right now, his daughter spoke out against it, and he's on the America Next Top Wanted list. Like, for his crimes against children.
I thought he got caught.
No, he's on the run.
He's on the run.
The family helped.
Multiple people came forward.
And reported him, but his family helped him escape and evade police. Those same women that's supposed to be there to help other little girls grow up and feel comfortable. This is what I mean. Like, literally, his mom was the one that helped him escape. Doesn't believe her grandchild. Doesn't believe all these other women that was coming forward, and she protected her son. And
instead of holding him accountable, helped him run from the law, which is crazy.
And if you're trying to tell me that it's not the mother's fault, because I understand having shame on your family and feeling like you did something wrong, but you probably did something wrong, and that's okay. That's okay, but guess what? You have to stop. Like, some of those girls, like Jeffrey Dahmer's mom, you know?
Oh, God.
Like,
oh, God.
No, literally, but Jeffrey Dahmer's mom, like, she didn't want to take any accountability, you know?
None.
Like, to the point that she tried to self-delete herself. And I understand, your son is a serial killer. I wouldn't want that at all, like, on anybody. I imagine that's, like, the worst thing that you can ever picture your child being. But she did her wrongdoing. She abandoned her child. She took medications while she was pregnant. And a lot of people don't want to have those conversations. If we're going to keep talking about it's my body, my choice, and how we are allowing people to come, like men to come into our lives, we allow that. And I'm not talking about people who get R. I'm not talking about people who have the trauma of being M when they're young. I'm not talking about those people. Those are on the case-to-case basis. Not saying they don't happen, but there's not a million men just out here just doing whatever they want to women with no accountability whatsoever.
Nah, there's still some good men in the world. There's still some good women in the world,
I would say there's more good men than there are bad men. It's just that it's so polarizing when you see a man doing something crazy. Just like there are more good women in the world than there are toxic women in the world. It's just they're very polarizing, and these women are not held accountable. The men are held accountable. A man can't even whistle at a girl without just getting ransacked. The way the female movement is right now, a man can't even talk about his feelings
anymore because we're
without being called a B.
And the way that, especially cancel culture, like to go around talking about everything that man does, but don't want to, rationalize or talk about anything that they do. It's kind of ridiculous, right? And who knows, I might get canceled for this.
It's not even about, I want you to speak your piece, just like you allow me to speak my piece. If you can't speak your truth, like, I'll tell you if you're out of line. You know me.
I know. If you're going to be in a relationship with somebody, right? Because this is literally all where it stems from. If you're going to be in a relationship with somebody, talk as transparently as possible and as much as possible about everything, right? Don't be afraid, because if you're not able to do that with that person, if that person is pulling back, or if you're that person that's pulling back, then it's just not for you. It's just not. Like, that's straight up. Because the last thing that you want is to have babies with the wrong person.
Exactly. I think that's where it really, really comes down to. Like, women, you can speak to the men real quick, but I'm going to just speak to the women. I'm telling you this as a 24-year-old young woman. And I went through a lot of stuff like that y'all won't know. So my opinion really stretches very far, farther than you will actually understand. Been there, done that. Like, I crammed a lot in my life in these 24 years that a lot of people would never even experience. And I just held myself accountable for a lot of the stuff that I invited into my life. I took accountability for a lot of stuff that I played victim and played dumb about, because I just didn't want to confront that trauma. And then when I did, it opened me up to a wonderful relationship. It opened me up to a lot of self-love. It opened me up to building more platforms to be able to speak and not be scared. It made me feel more confident in myself. It makes you feel stronger. I want you guys, when we're having these conversations and it feels a little bit uncomfortable, I want you to dig deep into how you actually feel about the topic. Not what you heard Beyonce say, not what you heard somebody on TikTok say,
not what you heard Fresh and Fit say, or
what
any
I
of
say.
These other YouTube gurus. Like, don't let other people's opinions be your opinion. Form your own opinion.
Exactly. Okay? That's why I wanted to open up. That's why you didn't see me comment. I didn't debate with anybody in those comments. At the end, I'm going to put up a bunch of comments. I'm going to obviously blur out their names, but just so you can read like a couple of them that came up on your own and form your own opinion. Women need to be held accountable for the things that they do. It doesn't mean that we're all evil, okay? It doesn't mean that we ate the fruit from the tree of life and now we are all damned. It doesn't mean that. It just means taking a little bit of accountability for your actions. If you're a toxic person and a toxic mom, you're raising your child, you're going to bring him into a society that he cannot understand because of your teachings and how you raise them. Yes, there are single mothers. Yes, there are men that treat women like we're not talking about them right now. We're talking about the real toxic women who are disrespectful to their children, disrespectful to their partners, who are abusing their kids, who are babying their sons to the point that they cannot function in society by themselves and treat women like maids, because you have mothers that treat their daughters like maids and make them do everything for their sons, and their sons don't learn any life skills. You have women that treat their sons like because they look like their father and they tell them that they're worthless, so they don't build the confidence to be a strong man. You have women that are going to put their new man or new men over their children every time. And we need to talk about those women.
Or the women that have daughters and, abuse their daughters and they wind up not having a father figure in their life, or their father figure is abusive to them and they grow up thinking that that's okay and that's how a relationship is supposed to be ran. And it's actually more dangerous with little girls because they mature faster than boys, and they wind up getting into things a lot quicker, like a lot quicker.
Exactly. So it doesn't just stem for the sons. The way that these mothers treat their daughters, and you guys know, because you know your mom, and some of you guys have an awesome mom, and you are blessed. Some of you guys have a fantastic mom that do their job and sacrifice and did everything they needed to do with or without a man. And guess what? I hope she raised you to be a dope ass woman. But some of us did not have that, and some of these men did not have that. And they didn't get those choices to choose their parents. And they turned out a little fucked up.
I didn't have both parents growing up. I had access to them, but I didn't have them. But I decided to make my mission my initiative to not be abusive, disrespectful, or toxic to the woman that I'm eventually going to have in my life. Because I just think that it's weird. I've seen so much abuse, so much hate and anger, just thrown around, that it just wasn't what I wanted. It almost made me go crazy multiple times. And I just told myself, like, yo, I got to get out of that environment. I got to get out of this environment. I got to make my own decisions for myself. And I just made it my moral compass to just, one, never put my hands on a woman. Like, that's point blank, period. And two, open up and be as honest as possible, and just, be respectful as much as I can. And if I don't get that reciprocation, then it's just not going to work. But it has worked for me, for the past 5 years, almost 5 years, So I guess that's pretty much where I'm at right now. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So I would just say, form your own opinions, form your own moral compass. Don't be toxic, and just learn how to communicate and learn how to, be smart and take accountability with the decisions that you make. Every decision that you make, and it's okay to communicate. It's okay to talk. Don't shut down. Don't let, others try to, bring you down and then you close up. Don't let people change you. Be yourself, and do what you got to do. But always respect your partner first and foremost. Always. If you're going to be in a relationship, respect your partner.
Not all women are good women. Not all moms are good moms, okay? Mm-hmm. There are toxic ones out there. Don't be blind. Mm-hmm. The blind can't lead. But that's our take for this week. Thank you for coming to our TED Talk.
This is not no goddamn TED Talk. This is Cache and Chris Taji.
We'll be here every Friday at 6 p.m. So we'll see you next week.
See you next week.
I'm Cache.
I'm Chris Taji.